Greetings, one and all. Welcome to another EIHL Weekly Roundup podcast. Today is the 24th of October 2017. It has been 2 weeks since the last podcast I recorded. Apologies for not doing one last week, but we are back and ready to talk about all the things going on in the Elite League over the last week. So let's get into it, folks. And of course, we shall start with comments of the week. Yes, this is where I look through some of the comments that you guys made on the previous podcast and talk about them, whether they were funny, whether they were relevant, whether you're asking me a question about the league, and have a quick chat about them, just to give you guys a voice in this podcast. So we shall start off with a comment by Riff69, which says, Flames will rise up the table. Having got the big teams out of the way for now and the squad starting to gel, I expect good things to come. Now, I pretty much agree with what you've said there, Riff. Guildford have kept themselves rather competitive in the league so far, considering they are a new expansion team, and they have had to go up against some pretty tough teams to get where they are at this moment in time. As the schedule is getting a little easier for them, and the team is starting to work together better and find some sort of chemistry, they could well compete with some of the top teams in the league going forward, especially in the standings department. I think they could well try and push themselves up into a top 5 berth over the next few weeks. Whether they stay there, that's a different question. But I think it's very interesting to see that the Guildford Flames are staying competitive, much more so than I thought they would. I did kind of write out the Guildford Flames at the start of this season, thinking they would be the bottom team in the league. But they are proving me wrong at the moment. I will give them that. The Milton Keynes have kind of dropped off somewhat, So in that sense, maybe Milton Keynes and Guildford have swapped around in my expectations. But give credit where credit is due. The Guildford Flames are doing a solid job. So thank you for that comment, Riff, and thank you very much for watching. Then I have a comment by The Man, and it says, how far do you think Manchester's run at the top will go? They seem to be a strong competitor this year. Well, I think they could be at the top of the league for the next few weeks, definitely, provided they keep winning games and keep consistent hockey. However, they have actually played a few more games than most of the teams in the Elite League so far this season, so I expect the likes of Sheffield, Nottingham and Cardiff to catch up when they have all played an equal amount of games to the Manchester Storm. I think Manchester definitely will finish the season as a top 5 team in the league though, so I don't think they will fall too far in the standings. They could win the league. I think Manchester could well win the league this year if they keep this form up. But I'm betting against it as they seem like a work-in-progress team in some places rather than a bona fide league champion like a Cardiff or a Sheffield or a Nottingham. So it's a very interesting situation that the Manchester Storm have themselves in. I haven't really picked them to be the top team in the league for the end of this year. I've picked them to be one of the top teams, maybe the top 5, but I don't think they're going to win the league this year, Manchester fans. I'm sorry you have to hear that, but I think that's the way it's going to go. But they've managed to jump up to the top of the league so far, so you've got to give them that. However, I think they're going to drop once more games come into the season. And Sheffield are very close behind the Manchester Storm, and I think they have 2 or 3 games in hand, or 1 game now in hand, or something like that. We'll get to the actual standings later. But I think that the Manchester Storm could stay up for the next few weeks, but I think when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the most important part of the season, which is towards the end, towards the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be the top team and win the Elite League. That's just the way I think it's going to go. But thank you for your comment. You really are the man. Then lastly, for comments of the week, we have a comment by Allington Skates, which says, I would rather win the league than the CHL. Are you mad? Did you even think this comment through, buddy? I would want to win the CHL a million, trillion, gazillion times more than the Elite League, I'm not going to lie. To be crowned the best hockey team in the whole European continent, having battled past armies of ex-NHLers, ones that were in the league for a while, not just the ones that our league usually gets where they played a handful or a couple of dozen. Could you imagine what that would do for British hockey if the Nottingham Panthers won the Champions Hockey League? That could help the sport finally get the coverage it deserves in this country. Sure, winning the league is great and would be absolutely awesome, but I would take the CHL trophy and being named the best team in Europe over winning the Elite Ice Hockey League any day of the week. Sure, winning the Elite League is incredibly difficult, but winning the Champions Hockey League against teams like Frölunda, against the Zurich Lions, against HV71, against EV Zug, against JYP, against Tapara, there's some very, very tough teams there, and if the Nottingham Panthers could do it, that would be absolutely amazing. That would be the most incredible story out of British hockey ever. So I would really want that to happen. So thanks for your comment, Allington, but I have to completely disagree with what you've said there, I'm not going to lie. I would, any day of the week, take a CHL Champions Hockey League trophy victory over an Elite League win, because they've already won the Elite League before. That's old territory. What we're in right now, this is new. This is new lands and new blood. So we have looked at the comments of the week. Let's move on to the scores that took place over the last week in the Elite Ice Hockey League. We shall start with the games on the 18th of October. And there was a league game between the Sheffield Steelers and the Edinburgh Capitals. And the score was Sheffield 5, Edinburgh 1. 2-point games for several Steelers players give Sheffield the victory over an Edinburgh team getting back into its old habits. So yes, the Steelers once again keep the wins rolling for their team. They're staying relatively high. I believe they're second in the league so far. They're staying up at the top of the league, or top of the standings. And Edinburgh, after a great week a couple of weeks ago, they've decided to drop the ball again and figured that they'd just start losing some more games. So my underdog story in the Edinburgh Capitals isn't quite going to plan at the moment. So the Edinburgh Capitals, they have a 4-goal differential loss against the Sheffield Steelers. Very different teams, very different calibre of players, so I'm not surprised that the Edinburgh Capitals lost this. However, it would have been nice for Capitals fans if the Edinburgh Capitals had put up a bit more of a fight. So several points being shifted around for the Steelers players, but the Edinburgh Capitals not getting what they wanted, and once again they drop another game in the Elite League. Then there was another and the final game on the 18th of October, which was a Challenge Cup game between the Nottingham Panthers and the Braehead clan. And the score was Nottingham 5, Braehead 3. Sauvé and Mosey's pair of goals each give the Panthers a much-needed Challenge Cup win over a Braehead team that continues to struggle in the league. So the Nottingham Panthers, they have now gone clear second in the Group A Challenge Cup group standings as it stands at the moment. And the Braehead clan, they lose yet another game. Very much like Edinburgh, the Braehead clan have struggled. They've had some good weeks and they've had some bad weeks more often than not. Very bad weeks, including this one. So yeah, the Braehead clan have struggled somewhat to actually get any sort of consistency going. Obviously still haven't figured out the sort of team they want to be. Or if they have, they want to be the team that wins some games, loses a hell of a lot, and doesn't really achieve much this season. So, hard luck Braehead clan for losing this game against the Nottingham Panthers. But you need to be on it a little bit more if you want to beat a team like the Panthers. They're not exactly the most tough team or the most difficult team to beat in the Elite Ice Hockey League at the moment. But you've got to put up a better effort than that if you want to beat Nottingham. So well done, Panthers. You get yourself 2 points to put yourself second in the Group A Challenge Cup standings. And the Braehead clan once again lose the game. So, you know, it's just kind of same old, same old. Even though Braehead did beat Nottingham earlier this season. So the 18th of October games are done. Let's move on to the 20th of October, where there was a game between the Belfast Giants and the Guildford Flames. And the score was Belfast 5, Guildford 4. Connolly and Kurtz's pair of goals each give the Giants a close victory against a rising Guildford side. So the Belfast Giants, they've been up and down recently as well. They managed to pick up a win against a somewhat surging Guildford Flames team. Like, they may be still down as sort of the halfway point in the league, but they are doing very well this season and defying expectations, especially my expectations. So, the Guildford Flames, they made it tough for the Belfast Giants, as Guildford usually do. And the Belfast Giants take a 5-4 victory against the Guildford Flames. So, nice job to Belfast, adding 2 more points onto their 17-18 campaign. And the Guildford Flames, it's a very close game. The games that they're losing seem to be 1-goal differential games. There aren't many times that the Guildford Flames are getting blown out this season, which is good considering they're a team that has just come up to the league. So well done Belfast, hard luck Guildford, but let's see how your games can carry on over the rest of the week. And finally, on the 20th of October, there was a game between Fife and Milton Keynes, and it was a league game. And the score was Fife 3, Milton Keynes 2. Goals by Mosey, Schaefer and Burzins gives the Fife Flyers a closely fought win against a Milton Keynes team who are starting to struggle. Yes, the Milton Keynes team, they got off to a pretty decent start, I think, within the EIHL this season as one of the new expansion teams along with the Guildford Flames. But they're starting to drop it a little bit at the moment. I think whether it's injuries, whether it's lack of chemistry, whether it's trying out different line combinations because it's still early in the season, I think the Milton Keynes Lightning, they've kind of lost that momentum that had them doing quite well at the start of the season, because they were at one point doing a lot better than the Guildford Flames, but now that's flipped on its head because hockey is that kind of sport. So we'll just have to see how the Milton Keynes Lightning carry on going forwards, because they're not quite cutting it at the moment, are they, ladies and gentlemen? As Milton Keynes fans watching, it must be a bit irritating. I mean, you can't have expected them to be at the top of the league. Of course not. They're in a very new league. They're a very weak team compared to some of the top teams in this league. However, they did kind of turn a few heads, especially mine, at the start of the season when they started to pick up loads of wins that they probably shouldn't have, especially against teams like the Cardiff Devils. I think that was them, or was that Guildford? I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, so it's been very interesting to see how the Milton Keynes Lightning have performed. Mika Weichman has obviously played a huge part in how well the Lightning have done, but he can't have it all himself. Like, he needs some sort of help there if they want to win. But don't take it away from the Fife Flyers. They played a solid game here. It's a 1-goal differential game. Both games on the 20th of October were decided by 1 goal. Some hard-fought games there, and the Fife Flyers take the 2 points in the league. They're going to need it, especially, and they are still doing quite well in the league. They're several games behind the rest of the league in terms of games played. So if they can get some wins in these games, they're going to climb themselves up the standings. So good job, Fife. Hard luck, Milton Keynes. Then came the weekend, and we start with the 21st of October, which was a Saturday. And there was a game between the Dundee Stars and the Coventry Blaze, which was a league game. And the score was Dundee 3, Coventry 2. Staddle's hat-trick powers the Dundee Stars past the Coventry Blaze for another 2 points in the league for the Dundee Stars. So, when you're struggling to create offense, just get one of your guys to score every single goal, including the first, the middle, and the game-winning goal to get you the victory. That's what the Dundee Stars did, and it worked for them against the Coventry Blaze. So, well done to the Dundee Stars, managing to get the job done. Managing to get a 3-2 win, a hard-fought win, a goal in each period, I'm pretty sure. So, Staddle had a pretty good job. Sometimes you need just one player to stand out above the rest to clinch a game for you, and Staddle did that in this game, so congratulations. Well done to Dundee for getting another 2 points in the league. Hard luck to Coventry, who are still very much struggling to find any form of consistency. They're very much like a Braehead or an Edinburgh at the moment. Well, nobody's quite at the Edinburgh level, but they're very much like Braehead at the moment, struggling to find what sort of team they're going to be this season. Then there was a league game between the Nottingham Panthers and the Edinburgh Capitals, and the score was Nottingham 5, Edinburgh 2. Mokshantsev's pair of goals helped the Panthers take a win against an Edinburgh team once again struggling to get wins. So the Nottingham Panthers 4 points out of 4 so far for this week, after just recently being drawn to play against the Zurich Lions in the Champions Hockey League on Halloween, I believe, is the first game of the 2-game aggregate series. So the Nottingham Panthers showing that they're trying to keep some form of consistency and keep the team rolling and make sure the chemistry is there for when they play against a tough Zurich team. But on the flip side, the Edinburgh Capitals, they're just not getting it done, are they, folks? I believe this game was 1-1 and 2-2 at certain points in this game. So Edinburgh kept it quite close for most of the game, but then the floodgates opened for a Russian superstar like Alex Mokshantsev, and he came in and scored a few goals for the Nottingham Panthers to give them a 3-goal differential win against the Edinburgh Capitals. And the Edinburgh Capitals, they have dropped both their games so far this week, which is a huge pain in the arse for Edinburgh Capitals fans. Just as they started to do relatively well, they fall off the wagon once again, and they're just not doing that well, ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest. So, Nottingham, another 2 points, well done to them. Edinburgh, sort it out, guys, please. Then there was a game between the Sheffield Steelers and the Cardiff Devils, which was a league game. And the score was Sheffield 4, Cardiff nothing. Marquard's 2-goal night gives the Steelers a shutout win against the defending league champion Cardiff Devils. So Musnikov stands tall in this game to give the Steelers their 4-0 shutout victory. 2 goals from Marquard makes it a very solid job for him. And it's just an overall solid effort from the team, really. Whenever you shut an opposing team out and you score about 3 or 4 goals, that's just an overall brilliant team effort. The offense turn up when they need to by scoring goals. The defense turn up when they need to by not allowing any goals. And the goalie turns up when he needs to by getting a shutout. So it's a win-win for everybody on the Sheffield Steelers lineup. But on the flip side, the Cardiff Devils, the defending League and Challenge Cup champion Cardiff Devils, couldn't get it done. These two teams, since last season, really, since the Challenge Cup and the playoff weekend, they're very much creating themselves a bit of a rivalry here, I think, Sheffield and Cardiff. That is, if they haven't got one already. I assume they do, because they're two of the best teams in the league and in the country. So I'm very interested to see how these two teams go moving forward. Will these two teams meet in some key games again this season? Perhaps they will, perhaps they won't. We'll have to find out, I guess. But the Cardiff Devils they've played relatively well so far this season, and they played a game on the 22nd of October, which we'll get into. But the Sheffield Steelers, I mean, they've done pretty well this week so far, picking up both of their games so far. So, nice job to them. Then there was a game between the Braehead clan and the Milton Keynes Lightning, which was a league game. And the score was Braehead 4, Milton Keynes 3. Patoni's pair of goals helped the clan pick up a win for the first time in forever over the still struggling Milton Keynes team. So, this is kind of going to sound like a broken record, but the Braehead clan, they finally pick up a win for the first time in a little while. So they're obviously feeling good about themselves and what they've accomplished so far, as they should, because picking up a win after you're going on such a bad losing streak is good. Just speak to the New York Rangers. And but on the flip side, the Milton Keynes Lightning, it's basically the same as what I said earlier about them. They're a team that have kind of cooled down a little bit, and they're seeing these 1-goal differential games work against them, which is a huge pain in the arse for their team, because that's not what they want. They want to be doing really well here, obviously. But the Braehead clan, they managed to pick up 2 points, basically 2 sympathy points, let's be honest, against the Milton Keynes team. So that was pretty much the worst of the worst in the league, pretty much. Well, not really. If it was Braehead and Edinburgh, it would have been the worst of the worst. But Milton Keynes, if they want to stay competitive in this league, they've got to pick up their play a little bit. And then lastly, on the 21st of October, there was a game between the Manchester Storm and the Fife Flyers, which was also a league game. And the score was Belfast 4... No, that's not it. Not at all. Manchester 3, that's it. Fife 2. Sorry, I was looking at my previous notes. So Manchester 3, Fife 2. Stanitz's 2-point night helps the Manchester Storm hold off the Flyers as the league-leading Manchester Storm pick up another 2 points for their league standings. So yeah, a 1-goal game, the Manchester Storm grind it out and get the job done. There's been a lot of 1-goal games so far this week, which has been quite nice. Because the start of the season especially, a lot of blowout games within the EIHL. I do like it when you get these 1- and 2-goal differential games, because they're real, like, grindy games. They're games that you know that the role players have to step in and make an impact on. Because you're not going to send out a fourth line if you're winning by 5 goals. Or you're not going to send them out for consecutive shifts if your team is winning by 4 or 5 goals. But if you're only winning by 1 goal, you want to send out those grind lines. You want to send out those depth players, especially more often. Especially if you've got like a 1-goal lead. So it's nice to see these sort of games come up. So congratulations to Manchester on adding to their league lead. Hard luck to Fife, but they have already got a win so far this week. So they're going about 500 at the moment. Now we move on to the 22nd of October, which was this Sunday just gone. And there was a league game between the Belfast Giants and the Sheffield Steelers. Hence why I said Belfast slightly earlier. And the score was Belfast 4, Sheffield 3. Sylvester's 2-point night helps give the Giants a much-needed victory against the Sheffield Steelers. So the Belfast Giants, they've picked up at least 4 points this weekend, which has been very good for them. That's what they've needed in order to get back up into the league. However, Sheffield, they've won 2 of 3 games this weekend or over this week. So it's not as if they're really hard done by, but they haven't quite caught the Manchester Storm in terms of the league lead in points, which they're probably going to be a little bit annoyed about. However, they are a solid second place within the league. We'll look at the full league standings slightly after these games. But the Belfast Giants, they pick up some more points. They need that if they want to stay in the top 5 within the league. And the Sheffield Steelers, they lose a close game. But another 1-goal game that requires your grindy players, which is good. I like these games that you really need to grind them out. Like, any team can go out and score like 5 goals and completely blow a team away. But you want to see skill from both teams and show that it's a mutual respect and a mutual ability and talent on a roster that the players can grind it down and get the job done, which is really nice. So, well done to Belfast. Another 2 points for 4 points at least on the weekend. Sheffield, you dropped the game. Hard luck, but you're second in the league, so don't cry too much. Then there was a league game between the Cardiff Devils and the Nottingham Panthers. And the score was Cardiff 6, Nottingham 2. Morissette's hat-trick helps the Devils take down the Panthers in a British Champions Hockey League showdown. I have already done a video through NHL 18 showing a showdown between these two teams where Nottingham took the win. However, it is Cardiff who prevail in this game against these two teams. I believe these two teams had already played once already this season and Cardiff took that victory as well. I want to say, I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, so the Cardiff Devils have a pretty convincing win, including an own goal by the Nottingham Panthers, which is really helpful for them. Yeah, the Panthers did not have a very good game there at all. They played in Cardiff. I think it was one of the first away games that I've watched a webcast of. Yeah, at Nottingham. Can you get on setting up a home live webcast? That would be brilliant. So the Cardiff Devils, I watched that game on the Sunday night, and it just wasn't a good game by the Nottingham Panthers, really. The Cardiff Devils did a very good job of grinding the Nottingham Panthers out and taking advantage of the chances when they got them by adding to the score sheet. So well done, Devils. You get yourself 2 points after losing against Sheffield 4-0. And hard luck to Nottingham, but you had got 4 points this week already. So once, like Sheffield, don't cry too much about it. Then there was a game between the Guildford Flames and the Manchester Storm, which was another league game. I think the rest of the games are league games. And the score was Guildford 4, Manchester... No, sorry, that's not right at all. Guildford 6, I should say. What is happening to me today? I think I'm just, not feeling 100%, and I'm getting a bit of a cold, and I'm really tired from rehearsals. So, my head's all over the place. So, Guildford 6. It's Guildford 6. We'll try that again, shall we? So, Guildford 6, Manchester 4. That's it. Rashinsky's hat-trick gives the Flames a win against the current league-leading Manchester Storm. So the Guildford Flames, once again, a tough team to play against, and keeping their momentum going by getting the victory against the top team in the league at the moment. I mean, there's no way to say, yeah, we're here to stay and we're going to climb up the standings by beating the top team in the league at the moment. So that's a tremendous job by the Guildford Flames on the Manchester Storm. On the flip side, the Manchester Storm, they dropped their first game, I think, in a little while. So they don't have to cry too much about that either. They're still at the top of the league with at least a game in hand on second place Sheffield. So they're not doing too bad for themselves as they've slowly, as the years have gone by, climbed up the rankings and they've managed to get it done for themselves. So hard luck, Manchester, but Guildford, you're still climbing up the rankings, and guys like Riff in the comments from the last podcast are proving you guys right, or you're proving them right, that you are gelling as a group and you're managing to get the win. So well done, Guildford. Then there was a game between the Milton Keynes Lightning and the Edinburgh Capitals, which is almost a best of the bad bunch, or the worst of the worst here. And the score was Milton Keynes 5, Edinburgh 2. This was a league game, by the way. Kearney's 3-point night gives the Lightning their first victory of the week, as the Capitals lose every single game this week. So the Capitals have very much gone back to old habits by losing every single game. 3 out of 3 that they've lost. They're 0 for 3 this week. 6 possible points that they've dropped. And the Milton Keynes Lightning pick up 2 points, which is good for them in terms of trying to stay relevant. However, Edinburgh are very clearly at the bottom of the standings right now. So, hard luck, Edinburgh, but once again, you need to sort it out. I thought you'd started to sort things out last week when you got a couple of wins. But to me, it looks like a bit of a fluke that last week, doesn't it, at the moment? So, hard luck to Edinburgh. And well done to Milton Keynes for getting their first win of the week. Then penultimately, No, yes, this is penultimate league. You can tell I'm really tired, can't you? Penultimately, there was a game between Coventry and the Dundee Stars, which was also a league game. And the score was Coventry 1. It wasn't Coventry 1. What am I doing with myself, guys? Coventry 2, Dundee 1. God, I need to stop recording these after I go to uni. So Coventry 2, Dundee 1. Kloz and Valoran's goals give the Blaze their first win in quite a while, if I'm honest, as they take down the Dundee Stars in the 3-goal game. So this is a huge grind game going on in this one. A 2-1 game where you just get one goal and you've got to try and hold that lead, protect that lead. It looks like the Coventry Blaze tried to do, and they managed to do it. Or I think they equalised. I think the Dundee Stars equalised, and then Coventry got the third goal of the game. So congrats to the Coventry Blaze for getting that win. First win in a little while, at least this week it's their first win. And Dundee dropped 2 points, but Coventry picked them up for themselves. Both of those teams kind of needed those points, and Coventry managed to come out with the points, so well done to them. Then finally, let's see if we can get this last one right, ladies and gentlemen, first time. There was a league game between the Fife Flyers and the Braehead clan. And the score was Fife 5, Braehead 2. Thank you, I got it right. Helis's 4-point night gives the Flyers the victory over a Braehead side that lost yet another game. So they took 1 out of 3. Edinburgh went 0 for 3. Braehead went 1 for 3. So the Fife Flyers, I think they picked up 2 out of 3 wins this week. 4 out of a possible 6 points. I'd take it as the Fife Flyers. I'd be pretty happy with that if I'm honest. Especially considering they've got several games in hand on some of the other bigger teams. So if they can keep this momentum going, they will climb themselves up the rankings. However, Braehead, once again, not doing very well. So they need to still figure out what they're doing. It's just very much repeating stuff that happened earlier. I mean, I could not mention some of that stuff in their first game, but of course I've got all the scores from the weekend written down here, so I know that something's going to happen. And it's kind of like, really, Braehead, you really need to sort this out, guys. But then again, one team every game has to lose, and if every team won a game then lost a game, it would be far too even in the league to figure out. So at least we're now at the point that we're actually starting to see a bit of divide within the top teams and the middle teams. We're definitely seeing it between the top team and the bottom team, that's for sure, and we'll get into that in a moment. So yes, they are all the games that took place over this last week. Some of them incorrectly read out for several times. Sorry about that. Bit of a cold, bit ill. Uni is long. Rehearsals are 9 to 5 every day, and then I have to try and record this and write notes for it. So sympathise for me, but it's not an excuse. But anyway, my game of the week for this week was the Fife and Braehead game that went 5-2. I must admit, I didn't put too much thought into this. My reasoning for it is, you've got to give credit to a 4-point night from a guy like Keynes when one comes around. So I think we should give some love to the Scots. Even though they're playing really badly in the Elite League so far this season, with none of their teams coming in the top 5 so far this year, no way close, I should say. Fife is the top team out of all of the teams from Scotland so far. So we've got to give them a bit of love. It's a bit of a sympathy game of the week, if I'm honest. However, Helis, a 4-point night, that's pretty impressive. You've got to give him that. So those were the games that happened last week. That was the game of the week. Let's move on to a bit of stats, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Let's take a look at the league standings, which look a little bit like this. So in first, we still have the Manchester Storm with 18 points. In second, Sheffield with 16. In third, Nottingham with 14. In fourth, Belfast with 12. In fifth, Coventry with 11. Tied sixth are Fife and Cardiff with 10. Sixth is Guildford with 9. Tied seventh is Milton, Keynes and Braehead with 8. Dundee have 6 and Edinburgh are last with 2 points in the league. So you can see what I mean about there being a huge difference now between Manchester and Edinburgh first and last in the league. There's a 16-point difference already. Then let's take a look at the Challenge Cup standings, which look like this. In Group A, Sheffield are leading the group with 8 points. I think they've already guaranteed themselves a place in the playoff round. The Nottingham Panthers have 4 points, and Manchester and Braehead each have 2 points. In Group B, which is the most interesting one of the lot, Belfast have 7 points, Fife and Guildford have 6 points, and Edinburgh have 5 points. Then in Group C, Milton Keynes have 10 points, so I think they've guaranteed themselves a spot, as have Guildford, I think. Wait, Guildford weren't in the other group. Who am I talking about? I've completely messed this up. Group B is Belfast, Fife. It's not Guildford. It's not Guildford at all, is it? Who is it then? Oh, I've completely forgotten. It's Belfast, Fife, Dundee and Edinburgh. I'm so sorry. You can tell I'm so tired. Why have I done this? Oh, God, I'm so useless. What's wrong with me? So, yeah. Group B, Belfast 7, Fife and Dundee 6. I don't know why I've written Guildford here. And Edinburgh 5. Then Group C, Milton Keynes 10. So they've guaranteed themselves a spot. Guildford 7. They've guaranteed themselves a spot, I think. Cardiff 5 and Coventry 1. Oh my God, let's just get through this as quick as possible, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is a tough day. So, the stat leaders, the individual stat leaders in the league. For points, points for skaters. Manchester's Dane Byers and Guildford's John Dunbar lead the league in points, both with 19 points each. For goals, it is still Sheffield's John Armstrong with 10 goals so far this season. Assists, Manchester's Dane Byers with 16. Penalty minutes, Belfast's Spiro Gulakos with 105, the first Elite League player this season to hit over 100 penalty minutes. And then for the goaltending stats, wins, Manchester's Mike Clement with 9. Losses, Braehead's Ryan Nye with 7. Goals against, Cardiff's Thomas Murdy and Dundee's Craig Holland with 1. Goals against average, Fife's Andy Isles with 1.67. Saves, Sheffield's Irvins Musnikov with 357. And save percentage, Fife's Andy Isles with .914. So, we have looked at the scores, we have looked at the standings, and we have looked at the current points leaders. Now, it is time to take a look at the latest news going around in the Elite Ice Hockey League. And lots of players signing to teams, lots of Department of Player Safety stuff to get through. So, let's just get on with it, folks. So, we shall start, of course, with the Department of Player Safety, or the DOPS, rulings. We start with Nottingham's Evan Mosey. He was assessed a 2-minute boarding penalty in the Panthers game against the Sheffield Steelers on the 14th of October. The game that I was at, and it was very good. Robert Farmer's goal was incredible. The DOPS ruled that the penalty be upgraded to a 5+ game for checking from behind and will be added to his playing record. However, Evan Mosey does not miss any games from this penalty. Then, Milton Keynes, Carl Hudson received a 10+10 minute checking from behind penalty and a 5+ game for checking from behind in the Lightning's game against the Coventry Blaze on the 14th of October. The DOPS ruled that the 2+10 minute not be increased and that the checking from behind penalty has been replaced with a 2+2 minute roughing penalty. So Carl Hudson getting a bit more than he perhaps should have got, maybe, or a bit of a change there for Carl Hudson, but I think he's happy that his 5+ game has been reduced to a 4-minute penalty. Also in the same game, Coventry's David Clements was given a 2-minute cross-checking penalty. The DOPS increased the penalty to a 5+ game for cross-checking and it would be added to his playing record, but it doesn't carry an automatic suspension and the DOPS didn't give him a suspension, so that's how that one stays. Then, Guildford's Ian Waters was given a 2+10 minute checking to the head penalty in the Flames game against the Cardiff Devils on the 14th of October. But it was decided that the DOPS did not increase this penalty, so he gets a 2-minute plus checking to the head penalty. Then, the very next day, the very same player, Guildford's Ian Waters, was given another 2-minute checking. Well, it's a 2+10 minute, but this time it's a 2+10 minute checking from behind penalty, as opposed to the head, in the Flames game against the Milton Keynes Lightning on the 15th of October. However, once again, the DOPS did not increase this penalty, so Ian Waters getting off somewhat lightly by the Department of Player Safety these last few games, and he gets a couple of 2+10 minute penalties, but no suspension. So, Ian Waters, you got off very lucky there, sir. Then, penultimately, Coventry's Danik Paquette was given a 5+ game penalty for checking to the head in the Blazers game against the Cardiff Devils on the 15th of October. The DOPS upgraded this to a match penalty for checking to the head, which carries an automatic 1-game ban, which the DOPS added an extra game to for a total of a 2-game suspension. Paquette meant that he missed both of the Blazers games this past weekend. And finally, Manchester's Jay Rosehill was given a 5+ game penalty for checking to the head in the Storm's game against the Edinburgh Capitals on the 15th of October. This penalty was upgraded to a match for checking to the head, which carries an automatic 1-game suspension, which the DOPS added an extra game to for a total of 2 games suspended. Rosehill meant that he missed both of the Storm's games this last weekend. Now, we've looked through the Department of Player Safety, let's move on to more general news. And the Guildford Flames have signed Rasmus Edström to their lineup. The 25-year-old defenseman arrives from Swedish side VIK Västerås and has played over 100 Swedish Hockey League games. This seems like a decent signing for the Flames, I must admit, who are looking to keep their recent success going. But of course, as one player comes in, another has to leave. This time it is former GB under-20 player Adam Jones, who the Flames let go as they couldn't give him the ice time he would need to be the best player he could be with the Flames franchise. So welcome to the Elite League, Rasmus. Hard luck to Adam, but here's hoping you find another team to play for, Adam. You can't, as the Guildford Flames, you can completely understand this move. It's hard to let a guy like Adam Jones play on the roster when there's another player, a 25-year-old player who hasn't even hit his prime, hopefully, in his career, and has played over 100 games in Sweden's top league of ice hockey. It's no wonder that they decided to give up somebody like Adam Jones. It's a shame because he's a Brit and he's meant to be representing this country and his team via this country, but it's a shame. However, you can't fault the Guildford Flames for picking up Rasmus Edström from this because he's played over 100 SHL games, he is a solid defender and he will add a lot of experience and a lot of talent to the lineup. So I'm not surprised that the Guildford Flames picked up a guy like this. It sucks for Adam Jones, of course, but that is the business. Hopefully he'll find another Elite League team that he can get more minutes with. Maybe if not, he can go in the League One sides or the British Ice Hockey League or whatever the next one is, the Premier Ice Hockey League or something like that. Maybe he'll go down there. I think he was with the Telford Tigers last time before he joined the Flames. So hopefully he gets the chance he wants to try and make an impact. But welcome to the league, Rasmus Edström. Then, Manchester Storm's Lyndon Springer shall be staying with the team for quite a while, as he signs a 3-year contract to stay with the Storm. The 24-year-old Springer has proven a popular addition to the team, as his penalty minutes have racked up in his first 14 games of this season. Springer currently has a goal and 2 assists this season, so he's not exactly a point guy, but he likes to rack up the penalty minutes by punching the other team's enforcers in the face. It's always good to have a fan favourite stick around, so congrats to Manchester and to Springer. But however, it's very strange to see a news story like this, because it's not often that you see a player in the Elite League sign a contract for longer than a year or 2 years. So seeing a 3-year contract is very, very strange in this league and something you don't see very often. So when I first read it, I had to do a double take. I was like, hang on a minute, is it really 3 years? I was expecting like until the end of the season or for the next 2 years. 3 years is a very strange amount of time, but he will be 27 at that point and in his prime, hopefully. So Lyndon Springer hopefully trying to stay with the Manchester Storm and seeing if they can win their first Elite League title. So if any Manchester fans were thinking about picking up a Springer jersey and weren't sure if he was going to stick around, now's the time, ladies and gentlemen, as he's around for the next 3 years. Then, the Cardiff Devils have signed Tyson Strachan to a contract. The 32-year-old defenceman comes to Cardiff, having played almost 200 games in the NHL with teams such as St. Louis, Washington, Florida, Buffalo, and Minnesota. Of course, that's a lot of teams that he's played games with, but he's a journeyman of the NHL. But what a great addition to the league as a whole, and not just the Cardiff Devils. You don't play almost 200 NHL games by being a bad hockey player, and this is a solid pickup for Cardiff, who have added talent and skill to their roster with this signing. Welcome to the Elite League, Tyson Strachan. What a good pickup for the Cardiff Devils. I assume there's some sort of injury situation there where one of their players might be out long term, hence why they've been able to pick up somebody else. But of course the Cardiff Devils this offseason weren't that busy because most of their players decided to stick around on the roster. I think they only had to replace about 5 or 6 players, which for an Elite League team in the offseason is absolutely ridiculous. If you look at most of the teams in the Elite League, they lose about 15 players every season, or 10 to 15 players. But to lose 5 or 6 by the Cardiff Devils was a nice job, and it's a testament to how much those players want to play in Cardiff and how well Cardiff have been playing recently. So they pick up another NHL journeyman who has had experience and talent in the NHL, 200 games almost, which isn't an easy feat for quite a lot of players. Most players that ever play the game don't even get to play one game. He got to play almost 200. So nice job by the Cardiff Devils. Tyson Strachan, welcome to the league. And finally, the Sheffield Steelers have signed Andre Deveaux to their roster. The 33-year-old right winger has played almost 600 American Hockey League games in his career, as well as 31 NHL games, but has struggled with injuries the last few seasons. Deveaux made a handful of appearances for HC Sparta Prague since the injury bug bit, but he is set to start his comeback in Sheffield with the Steelers. Provided Deveaux is on the path to full health, this is a very good signing for the Sheffield Steelers. However, this is, in my opinion, a high-risk signing for the Steelers, as one injury for Deveaux could likely put him out for the rest of the season and potentially end his career. Of course, you could say that about any player in the league, but in Deveaux's case, it might take something less severe in order to ruin it for him. The problem is he's been trying to start a comeback again in his career, and you can understand why. He's 33, he's still got a few good years on him. He is, although, on the wrong side of 30. So he wants to make sure that he actually has an impact with a team before the end of his career is done, which I understand, and I completely respect that. The only problem is, if he's been having a lot of injuries recently and he's been struggling to play games and find consistency, it's going to be very tough for him if he, say, in a game between Cardiff and Sheffield, or Sheffield and Nottingham, or Sheffield and Belfast, and they get quite physical, those games. And Deveaux doesn't seem the type of player to shy away from the physicality of the game. All it takes is one hit or one stick in the wrong place or one wrong punch in a fight, and Deveaux might be out for the rest of the season and might see his hockey career end, which is a huge shame, but that is something that does happen. Of course, as I said earlier, that can happen to any player out there, but I feel like he's a bit injury prone at the moment, so I think the Steelers want to tread lightly with a guy like Deveaux and make sure he is 100% ready to come back when he does. I did read a bit of an interview with Paul Thompson saying that he wanted to make sure Deveaux's fitness was up before he came into the lineup because he wanted him to be ready and healthy to play. So that's a smart move by Paul Thompson there, the head coach of the Sheffield Steelers, in order to make sure that a player that's had a few injuries these last few years is getting the attention that he needs and hopefully getting himself sorted out. But anyway, here's hoping Deveaux's injuries are behind him, and Andre Deveaux, welcome to the league and welcome to the Sheffield Steelers. So we have looked at the news, we have looked at the scores, we have looked at the comments of the week. It's now time to move on to the next week of games with prediction time. Yes, this is of course where I go through each of the games coming up over the next week of the Elite Ice Hockey League and predict who I think are going to win. We shall start with the 25th of October, where there is a game between the Edinburgh Capitals and the Coventry Blaze. And you know what, I'm going to go the Edinburgh Capitals for this. I feel sorry for them. These two teams haven't played very well recently. Coventry is doing miles better in the league standings than Edinburgh, but I'm going to go Edinburgh with this just because I think they're going to be a bit desperate for this win. Then on the 26th of October is Edinburgh versus Milton Keynes. So Edinburgh playing a few games in midweek. And I'm going to go with the Milton Keynes Lightning for this one. I think they're going to take the win against the Edinburgh Capitals, who are still going to struggle. I don't think their struggles are going to stop for this season. Probably not until at least halfway through the year. I could see Edinburgh having a very, very low point total by the end of the year. So I'm going to go the Milton Keynes Lightning. They need the 2 points. They're going to have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. And plus, I believe they played Edinburgh recently, didn't they? Yes, they did, and they got a 5-2 win this last week just gone. So, yeah, I am not surprised at all if the Milton Keynes Lightning would win this game. Then on the 27th of October, which coincidentally is my birthday, thank you, happy birthday to me, I'll be 21, thanks for asking, there is a game between the Sheffield Steelers and the Braehead clan. Without a doubt, I'm going with the Sheffield Steelers on this one. Sure, Braehead might surprise me and win this one, but I'm just going to go with the Sheffield Steelers because they are one of the most dominant teams in the league at the moment, and I don't think they're going to let up for a team like Braehead. Then on the 28th of October, there is a good set of games because it's a Saturday. First, there is Edinburgh versus Manchester. Manchester's going to win it without a doubt. Moving on. Belfast versus Braehead. I'm going to go with the Belfast Giants. I think Braehead are still going to continue to struggle within the league. and the Belfast Giants would like to continue their recent run of success. So the Belfast Giants will take this and get 2 points. Then there's Guildford versus Dundee. I'm going to go with Guildford for this one. They're a surging team. If there were power rankings in the EIHL, I would put them quite near the top, as they are starting to find some sort of momentum. I could see them going on a bit of a winning streak, which would help them out tremendously. So yeah, I'm going to go with Guildford for that one. Then there is a game between the Milton Keynes Lightning and the Nottingham Panthers. I'm going to go the Nottingham Panthers because they are the better team. The Nottingham Panthers, and because they're my favourites, but yeah, fine. I think the Nottingham Panthers, they're a much better team. They've got a much better quality of player. And I think this might be Mika Vikman's first return to Nottingham since he signed with the Lightning. So will there be a bit of jitters there? Will he play better because he's returning to play against his old team? Who knows? But I think the Nottingham Panthers are going to take this one and show Vikman why he should have stayed with the team. Although we've got Mike Garnett now and he's been pretty solid for us. Then there is a game penultimately on the 28th of October between the Coventry Blaze and the Cardiff Devils. I'm going to go the Cardiff Devils because they are a solid team. They're coming off a win against the Nottingham Panthers and they're playing a weaker team in the Coventry Blaze, who are getting a bit desperate at this point, but the Cardiff Devils, they weren't double winners last season for nothing. So yeah, I think they're going to do absolutely fine. And then lastly, we have a game between the Sheffield Steelers and the Fife Flyers. Without a doubt, the Sheffield Steelers. I think the Fife Flyers could make it difficult for the Steelers to pull away in this game. I could see it being a 1 or 2 goal differential victory for the Steelers, but I think the Steelers will get the win nonetheless. Then finally, for prediction time, there are games on the 29th of October between the Nottingham Panthers and the Coventry Blaze. I'm going to go Nottingham once again. I think Coventry are going to continue to struggle because they're just not that strong of a team. Manchester versus the Milton Keynes Lightning. I'm going to go with the Milton Keynes Lightning for this one, actually. I think Manchester will pick up a game or 2 this weekend, but they will drop 1 ultimately. And the Milton Keynes Lightning need the points more than Manchester do, especially to stay relevant in the league. Then there is a game between the Braehead clan and the Sheffield Steelers. The Sheffield Steelers all the way. Then there is a game between the Belfast Giants and the Edinburgh Capitals. The Belfast Giants all the way. Then there is a game again between the Dundee Stars and the Guildford Flames, and I'm once again going to go with Guildford for the same reasons as above. And finally, the Cardiff Devils play the Fife Flyers once again. Oh no, they play them for the first time this week, and the Cardiff Devils are going to take the win, but once again, like Sheffield, I think Fife could make it quite difficult for them. So my one to watch for this next week is the game between the Sheffield Steelers and the Braehead clan. Not because it's going to be a tough matchup, not because it's going to be a pretty solid game of the week, but because it's the only game that takes place on my birthday, and you should all say happy birthday to me because I'm bloody amazing. And there you go. That was another EIHL Weekly Roundup podcast full of tired odd man rush. What did you think about everything that took place over the last week in the league? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.